His smile could charm a dragon, and he is a complete monster. I am bound to the soles of his boots. Where he goes, I am forced to follow. I have no voice, no body, no choice. I see the world from the floor up. It is a universe of dirt and blood. Aurelius just killed another goblin. The creature gurgled its last breath. It was no threat to our party. It was probably just looking for roots. Aurelius laughed as his sword fell. His companions cheered his name. A masterful strike, Sir Aurelius. Such power, such divine grace. Fools, all of them are blind fools. They see a hero, a shining savior. I see the rot hiding under the gold. I feel his smugness, his arrogance. It radiates from him like heat. I am stretched across the goblin's corpse. Its warm blood soaks into the earth. Something inside me stirs. A hunger, a strange and hollow, aching need. Then, a blue light flickers in my vision. A transparent box of text appears. Organic essence detected in range. Target, low-tier goblin corpse. Devourer, Y/N. What is this? A game interface? My old life was filled with these. I spent thousands of hours in RPGs, but this is real. Frighteningly real. I have no hands to press a button. I have no voice to speak a command. I focus my will on the letter Y. A desperate, silent scream for yes. The blue box flashes once. Command confirmed. Initiating Devour. A strange sensation flows through me, like drinking cool water on a hot day. Tendrils of darkness, my own substance. They seep from my form into the corpse. The goblin's body seems to fade. It turns gray and brittle, like ash. Then, it crumbles into fine dust. The whole process took 3 seconds. No one else seemed to notice a thing. They were too busy praising Aurelius. Another blue box appears before me. Goblin essence devoured successfully. Shadow integrity increased by 0.1%. Current integrity, 1.1%. Integrity. So, I am not just nothing. I am something that can be measured. And if it can be measured, it can grow. A flicker of hope ignites within me. It is a tiny spark in a vast darkness, but for the first time, it is there. What are you looking at, Ilara? Aurelius's voice cuts through my thoughts. He is speaking to the party's healer. Her name is Ilara. She is quiet. She always stands at the back. Her eyes are kind, but also sad. The goblin, she says softly. It turned to dust, Aurelius. My non-existent heart freezes. She saw it. She actually saw it. Aurelius scoffs, wiping his blade. It's a weak monster. They dissolve. Their magic is unstable. It's normal. He says it with such confidence. The others just nod in agreement. Of course the golden hero is right. Ilara doesn't look convinced. Her gaze lingers on the patch of dust. She looks down at me, at his shadow. For a second, I feel seen. It is a terrifying and thrilling feeling. She is the only one who pays attention, the only one who sees past the glitter. We continue our march through the forest. Aurelius is hunting for a beast, a dire wolf that terrorized a village. At least, that is the official story. I know the truth. He is just bored. He craves the thrill of the kill. He needs the adoration of the crowd. We find the dire wolf's tracks. They lead us to a dark cave. Aurelius grins. The beast is cornered. Perfect for a heroic display. He steps into the cave alone. His companions wait outside. He wants all the glory for himself. I am dragged along with him, of course. The cave is damp and smells of wet fur. 2 glowing red eyes appear in the dark. A low growl echoes off the walls. The dire wolf is massive, a true monster. Its teeth are like daggers. Aurelius just laughs at the sight. Come, puppy, let's play a game. The wolf lunges, a blur of gray fur. Aurelius dodges with inhuman speed. His golden sword is a streak of light. The fight is brutal and one-sided. He toys with the beast, enjoying its pain. He inflicts a dozen shallow cuts. The wolf howls in agony and rage. Finally, he tires of his game. One clean strike ends the wolf's life. It slumps to the ground, whimpering. Its giant body covers my own form. The blue box appears again. Organic essence detected in range. Target, mid-tier dire wolf corpse. Devour, Y/N. My will screams yes without hesitation. The process begins once more. This time the feeling is much stronger. It is not a sip of water. It is a river flooding into me. The massive wolf dissolves into nothing. Not even a single hair is left behind. Dire wolf essence devoured successfully. Shadow integrity increased by 2.5%. Current integrity, 3.6%. Strength threshold reached. New skill, Unlocked Shadow Spike, a new skill. I can do something. I can actually do something now. Information floods my consciousness. I can project a small part of myself, a sharp, hardened spike of shadow. It is a weak attack, but it is mine. Aurelius steps out of the cave. He holds the wolf's largest tooth, a trophy for the grateful villagers. His companions erupt in cheers again. Ilara is silent as always. Her eyes are fixed on the cave floor. She sees the bare stone where the wolf fell. She knows something is wrong. I need to be more careful. But the hunger is a powerful thing. Later that day, we face a goblin patrol. 5 of them this time. An easy fight. Aurelius cuts them down with ease. He is a whirlwind of golden death. He leaves the 5 bodies behind. He doesn't even look back at them. I am stretched over 2 of the corpses. I devour them as quickly as I can. Goblin essence devoured times 2. Shadow integrity increased by 0.2%. Current integrity, 3.8%. I try to reach the other bodies, but Aurelius is walking away too fast. I am tethered to him, a loyal dog. Frustration burns inside me. I need more. I need to grow stronger. I need to break free from this man. As we walk, I practice my new skill. I focus my will on the ground, a small, sharp spike of darkness. It erupts from my edge for a second. It is only a few inches long. It looks like a strange ripple, a distortion in the hero's shadow. No one notices my little secret. My first act of defiance, my first taste of real agency. That night, the party makes camp. Aurelius tells tales of his bravery. He exaggerates every detail. The dire wolf becomes a demon beast. The goblins become an army of orcs. His followers listen with rapt attention. Ilara sits by the fire, sharpening a dagger. She never looks at him. I lie on the ground, still and silent, but inside, I am a raging storm. I feel the power I have consumed. It is a tiny seed of strength, but I will nurture it. I will make it grow. I will devour this world if I have to. Aurelius suddenly stands up. He looks down at the ground. His eyes narrow, focused on me. Is it just me, or is my shadow darker? My non-existent blood runs cold. One of his companions laughs. My lord, it is nighttime. Of course your shadow is dark. Aurelius frowns for a moment longer. He kicks a little dirt over me, as if trying to wipe away a stain. Right, of course, just tired. He dismisses his own observation. He is too arrogant to believe it. He cannot imagine a threat from below, especially not from his own shadow. This is my advantage, my camouflage. He is the golden hero, the sun itself, and everyone knows that where there is light, there must always be a shadow. He has no idea what is growing in his. He has no idea that his shadow is hungry. And I am absolutely starving. This is my first victory. I am no longer just a passive observer. I am a parasite, a hidden predator, and my host has no idea he is my prey. The night air was cold, even for a shadow. I had no skin to feel the chill on, but I could feel the absence of warmth. Aurelius slept soundly near the fire. He was dreaming of applause and gold. His ego was a fortress without walls. He believed his own glorious lies. This belief was his greatest weakness, and it would be my greatest weapon. My hunger was a constant dull ache, a hollowness that begged to be filled. The 3.8% integrity felt like nothing. It was a drop of water in a desert. I needed more. I had to have more. Morning came too quickly, as always. The party packed their camp in silence. Kale, the rogue, complained of aches. Boren, the warrior, just grunted. Ilara checked her supply of herbs. Her movements were precise and quiet. She glanced at the ground near Aurelius. Her eyes lingered on me for a moment. I remained perfectly, unnaturally still. I could not afford her suspicion. Not yet. Not until I was stronger. Our path took us into the Mirkwood, a forest known for its perpetual twilight. The canopy of ancient trees was thick. It blocked out most of the sunlight. The forest floor was a tapestry of shadows. For me, this place felt like home. I felt my own form grow sharper, clearer. The ambient darkness nourished me. Aurelius hated this place, I could tell. It dimmed the shine of his golden armor. Disgusting swamp, he muttered. Let's get through this place quickly. We soon found out why it was feared. The ground squelched with every step. Strange, bloated leeches emerged. They were the size of a man's arm. They moved with unsettling speed. Boren cursed and swung his heavy axe. He cleaved one in two with a wet smack. Kyle danced back, throwing daggers. Aurelius watched with a bored expression. Clean up this trash, he ordered. He considered this fight beneath him. His arrogance gave me my chance. As Boren and Kale fought the leeches, I stretched my form over the dead ones. Organic essence detected in range. Target, low-tier giant leech times 3. Devour, Y/N. My will screamed yes with pure glee. The familiar coolness washed through me. The leech corpses dissolved into dust. They vanished into the shadowy bog. Leech essence devoured successfully, times 3. Shadow integrity increased by 0.9%. Current integrity, 4.7%. The fight was over in a few minutes. Boren was breathing heavily, stained. Kyle was wiping slime off his boots. "Well done," Aurelius said mockingly. "You almost broke a sweat, Boren." Boren's face flushed with anger, but he said nothing to the golden hero. He knew better than to talk back. We walked on, deeper into the gloom. I felt a new power coalescing inside me. The system chimed in my consciousness. Integrity threshold reached, 5.0%. New skill unlocked, Shadow Meld. Shadow Meld, detach from host and move. Range, 5 feet. Duration, 10 seconds. Must remain in contact with a shadow. Freedom, a taste of absolute freedom. My heart, which I did not have, soared. I could leave him, if only for a moment. I tested it immediately, with caution. I focused my will on a nearby tree root. Its shadow was dark and inviting. My form peeled away from Aurelius's boots. The sensation was indescribable. For a second, I was my own being. I flowed across the ground like spilled ink. I touched the root's shadow. I was hidden. I was independent. The 10-second timer felt too short. I rushed back to my place at his feet. I reattached just as he took a step. He never felt a thing. He noticed nothing. I had a new toy, and I would use it. Later, the party stopped for a short rest. Ilara sat on a fallen log to rest. She was stitching a tear in Boren's cloak. Her needle was small and silver. As she pulled a thread, it slipped. It fell from her fingers to the ground. It rolled and disappeared under the log. Into the deep shadow where she sat. She sighed in frustration. "Not again," she whispered to herself. She started to get on her knees to look. This was my chance to learn more. I used Shadow Meld, detaching from my host. I flowed silently under the same log. I found the tiny silver needle. I formed a minuscule tendril of shadow. It was a clumsy, difficult process. I nudged the needle with the tendril. I pushed it out into the dim light. It appeared right by her boot. I snapped back to Aurelius's feet. My 10 seconds were almost up. Ilara froze, her eyes widening. She stared at the needle. Then, she stared at the shadow under the log. She slowly picked up the needle. Her gaze then shifted to me, a long, penetrating, thoughtful look. She knew, she did not know how, but she knew that was not normal. I felt a strange connection to her. She was the only one who truly saw. Our journey was interrupted again, this time by a group of bog goblins. They were tougher than their forest cousins. Their skin was green and warty. They wielded crude, poisoned spears. Aurelius sighed dramatically. "More of these pests, so tiresome." He charged forward, his sword ablur. He was a magnificent, deadly hypocrite. He loved the slaughter, no matter the foe. He left 2 of them for Boren and Kale. "Don't disappoint me again," he snarled. Boren charged with a roar of frustration. He swung his axe at a goblin. The creature was surprisingly agile. It dodged under the wild swing. As Boren recovered his balance, I used my Shadow Spike skill, a tiny, sharp needle of darkness. It erupted from the ground's shadow. It pricked the back of Boren's knee. The pain was minimal, but surprising. He stumbled, his footing lost. The goblin seized the opportunity. It thrust its spear forward. The poisoned tip grazed Boren's arm. He roared in pain and fury. He finally crushed the goblin's skull. But the damage was already done. "Incompetent oaf!" Aurelius shouted. He had already killed his 3 targets. "You let that filth wound you?" Meanwhile, Kale was trying to be clever. He circled around the last goblin. He tried to use the shadows to hide. His shadows. My domain. I used Shadow Meld to flow towards him. I darkened a patch of moss he aimed for. I made it look like solid ground. His foot sank into the soft mud. He lost his balance and fell forward. The goblin cackled and jumped on him. Ilara had to fire a holy bolt. It struck the goblin, saving the rogue. Kyle scrambled up, covered in mud. Aurelius looked absolutely furious. His perfect battle was a clumsy mess. His heroic companions were fools. "Useless," he spat at them. "Both of you. You are an embarrassment to my name." While he berated his own party, I was having a feast. 5 dead bog goblins. Bog goblin essence devoured times 5. Shadow integrity increased by 2.0%. Current integrity, 6.7%. The power flowed into me, rich and dark. I felt stronger, denser, more real. Boren was nursing his poisoned arm. Ilara was applying a poultice. The poison is weak. You will live. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were not. She kept glancing at the ground, at the shadows that clung to everything. Aurelius kicked Kale's leg. Get up. We are not stopping here. His ego was wounded, and he was angry. He needed a real victory to feel good. He needed a bigger monster to slay. The forest finally began to thin. We emerged onto a rocky plateau. In the distance, a lone mountain peak. A plume of smoke rose from its side. The wyvern's roost, Kyle said. He pointed with a trembling finger. Aurelius's eyes lit up with ambition. A wyvern, he said with a hungry smile. Now that is a worthy trophy. Boren paled. My lord, we are not ready. My arm is injured. Kyle is exhausted. We need to rest and resupply. Aurelius turned to him, his face cold. Your weakness is not my concern. I will slay the beast myself. You will simply watch me do it. Ilara stepped forward. Aurelius, no. This is suicide. We must be cautious. It was the first time I heard her defy him. He looked at her with pure contempt. Your job is to heal, woman, not to think. Follow me or be left here to rot. He began the climb up the mountain path. He was arrogant. He was reckless. And he was dragging everyone to their doom. I was dragged along, a silent accomplice, but inside I was buzzing with energy. A wyvern, a powerful, magical beast. Its essence would be magnificent. Aurelius saw a chance for glory. I saw a stepping stone to my freedom. He thought his companions were the problem. He thought their failures were their own. He had no idea the rot was closer. It was right there, at his own feet. The conflict was escalating, just as I hoped, but it was no longer just a game. This time, people could actually die, and I realized I didn't want Ilara to die. This complicated things, but it did not change my ultimate goal. Aurelius had to fall, and I would be the one to push him. The mountain path was a cruel, jagged scar. It climbed towards the gray, angry sky. Each step was an effort for the party. Boren gritted his teeth against the pain. The poison still lingered in his blood. Kyle stumbled, his face pale with fatigue. Only Aurelius seemed unaffected by the climb. His rage was a fire that fueled him. He was angry at his men for their weakness. He was angry at the world for not bowing. I could feel his fury like a physical force. It was a bitter, suffocating presence. I, however, felt energized by the gloom. The mountain's shadow was a cool blanket. It made my own form feel more substantial. I was eager for the confrontation ahead. The wyvern's essence promised great power. Aurelius's pride promised a great fall. We finally reached the beast's lair. It was a wide cave mouth near the peak. The air smelled of sulfur and burnt meat. Gnawed bones littered the entrance. Some of them were clearly human. Stay here, Aurelius commanded his party. Try not to get yourselves killed. He sneered at Boren and Kale. I will handle this myself, as always. Ilara opened her mouth to protest again, but one look from Aurelius silenced her. He drew his gleaming golden sword. He stepped into the darkness of the cave. I was pulled along, his silent partner. The cave was larger than it looked. It opened into a vast, high-ceilinged cavern. Piles of gold and jewels lay scattered, a dragon's hoard, but on a smaller scale. And sleeping on the largest pile was the wyvern. It was a magnificent, terrible creature. Its scales were the color of obsidian. They shimmered with a faint purple light. Its tail was long and tipped with a barb. Wings like a bat's were folded at its side. Smoke curled gently from its nostrils. Aurelius did not believe in stealth. Wake up, beast, he bellowed. His voice echoed through the cavern. The wyvern's eyes snapped open. They were slits of molten gold. It rose to its full height with a roar. The sound was like grinding stones. It was much larger than the dire wolf. Aurelius just grinned, undaunted. Your reign of terror is over, worm. The wyvern did not wait for another word. It lunged with incredible speed. Aurelius met the charge head-on. Sword met claw in a shower of sparks. The force of the blow pushed him back. Surprise flickered across his face. This beast was stronger than he expected. The wyvern was not just a brute. It was a cunning, experienced fighter. It whipped its barbed tail at him. Aurelius dodged, but the barb scraped his armor. It left a deep scratch in the gold plate. He growled in frustration and annoyance. He swung his sword in a wide arc. The wyvern leaped back, avoiding the blow. It opened its mouth wide. A stream of green, bubbling acid shot out. Aurelius raised his shield just in time. The acid hissed as it struck the metal. His holy shield sizzled and smoked. The divine enchantments were corroding. This was not going to be an easy victory. From the cave mouth, the others watched. Their faces were masks of terror. They saw their hero being pushed back. Their invincible leader was struggling. The wyvern pressed its advantage. It was faster, more agile in its lair. It used the piles of treasure for cover. It launched quick strikes, then retreated. Aurelius was getting tired and angry. His perfect technique became sloppy. He was fighting with fury, not skill. And that was a fatal mistake. The wyvern faked a lunge to his left. Aurelius moved to block it. The beast then spun and struck with its tail. The heavy barb slammed into his side. It punched through a joint in his armor. Aurelius cried out in genuine pain. He stumbled back, clutching his ribs. The wyvern roared in triumph. It gathered itself for the final blow. Ilara screamed his name from the entrance. Boren and Kale looked on, helpless. This was my moment, my perfect chance. Aurelius was weak. He was distracted. The cavern was filled with deep shadows. I used shadow meld, detaching from my host. I was free. I flowed like liquid night. I moved across the cavern floor. I was invisible against the dark stone. The wyvern was focused on Aurelius. It saw him as the only threat. It never saw me coming. I reached the shadow of a large pillar. I was directly beside the beast. I gathered all my nascent power. The 6.7% integrity felt like a storm. I unleashed my shadow spike. Not a small needle like before. I focused everything into one point, a spear of pure, solidified darkness. It erupted from the shadow I occupied. It shot upwards with silent speed. It was aimed at the wyvern's underbelly, a spot where the scales were thinner. The spike struck true. It punched through the soft flesh. The wyvern shrieked, a sound of agony. It was a pain it had never known. It forgot all about Aurelius. It twisted, trying to see its attacker. It saw nothing but shadows. Its confusion gave Aurelius his opening. He saw the beast's distraction. He did not know the cause, but he acted. He charged forward, sword held high. He plunged the golden blade into the wyvern's neck. The beast shuddered one last time. It collapsed onto the pile of gold. Its molten eyes dimmed and went dark. Silence descended on the cavern. Aurelius stood panting over the corpse. He was bleeding from his side. His golden armor was scratched and corroded. He pulled his sword free with a grunt. He had won, but he knew it was not his win. He turned, his eyes searching the cavern. He looked at the pillar where I had been. At the entrance, his party was speechless. They had seen it. They had all seen it. A spike of blackness from the shadows. It was an undeniable, impossible event. I had already snapped back to my place. I was his shadow again, flat and still. But the air was thick with questions. Aurelius limped towards the entrance. "Ilara, see to my wound," he ordered. His voice was strained, lacking its usual boom. As she rushed to his side, I stretched my form over the dead wyvern. The blue box appeared, a welcome sight. Legendary essence detected in range. Target, adult obsidian wyvern corpse. Devour, YN. My will slammed down on yes. The sensation was overwhelming. It was not a river. It was an ocean, a tidal wave of pure power and essence. It crashed into me, filling every void. The massive body of the wyvern vanished. It did not even turn to dust. It simply dissolved into my being. The process took less than 5 seconds. One moment, a dragon lay on the gold. The next, there was nothing. Wyvern essence devoured successfully. Shadow integrity increased by 15.0%. Current integrity, 21.7%. Strength threshold surpassed. New skill unlocked, Shadow Grasp. Shadow Grasp, manifest a physical tendril. Range, 10 feet, strength, moderate. Aurelius, Boren, and Kale saw it happen. They watched the corpse disappear. This was not something they could ignore. It was not unstable magic. It was a theft. Aurelius stared at the empty pile of gold. His face was a mixture of horror and fury. The trophy he had almost died for was gone. His victory had been stolen from him. He slowly turned his head. He looked down. At me. At the perfectly normal shadow at his feet. "What are you?" he whispered. The words were quiet, but full of dread. He stomped his foot down on me. It was a useless, childish gesture. I felt nothing. I was nothing. And yet, I was everything. He drew his sword again. He stabbed the blade into the ground, right through my center. The holy sword flared with light. It felt like a mild sunburn. My new integrity was too high for such tricks. Boren and Kale just stared, mouths open. Their leader was attacking his own shadow. The golden hero had lost his mind. Ilara stood back, her hand over her mouth, but in her eyes, I saw not fear. I saw a glimmer of understanding. "It was you," Aurelius snarled at the ground. "In the forest, the wolf, the goblins. It was you! He was not a fool, arrogant, but not a fool. He had finally put the pieces together. He was standing on a mountain of treasure, wounded, exhausted, and publicly shamed. His companions saw his weakness. They saw his fear. They saw his madness. The invincible hero was a broken man, screaming at the floor of a cave. This was a victory more total than any kill. I had not laid a hand on him, and I had utterly destroyed him. He knew an enemy was hiding under his feet, an enemy he could not touch or fight. The game had changed forever. He was no longer the hero of this story. He was just the vessel for its villain, and his shadow was finally ready to rise. His holy sword did absolutely nothing to me. It was like trying to cut water with a knife. He finally stopped, panting from the effort. His madness receded, replaced by cunning. He looked at the faces of his companions. He saw their fear, their awe, their doubt. He could not admit the truth to them. He could not say his own shadow was a monster. That would make him look weak or cursed. So he did what all tyrants do. He found someone else to take the blame. His gaze settled on Ilara, cold and hard. You, he snarled, pointing a shaking finger. This is your dark magic, witch. Boren and Kale exchanged a confused look. My lord, what are you talking about? Boren asked, his voice hesitant. Aurelius laughed, a sharp, ugly sound. Are you blind? Or just stupid, Boren? She has been using blood magic, hiding it. She summoned that shadow spike to help me. Then she stole the wyvern's corpse. She wanted its essence for her dark rituals. The accusation was absurd, ludicrous, but he said it with absolute conviction. He was rewriting reality to fit his ego. Ilara stood her ground, her face pale. That's not true, Aurelius. You know it. Her voice was quiet, but did not tremble. I know what I saw. He spat back at her. I order you to seize her. Now. He looked at Boren and Kale. This was their test of loyalty, a test they were destined to fail. Boren looked at his poisoned arm. Ilara had been the one to treat him. Kale looked at his mud-stained clothes. Ilara had saved him from the goblin. They both looked at their mad leader, and they did not move a single inch. Their defiance hung heavy in the air. It was thicker than the cavern's gloom. Aurelius's face turned purple with rage. Traitors, he whispered, all of you. If you will not serve me, you will die. He raised his golden sword again. This time, he aimed it at Ilara. He lunged, a desperate, clumsy attack. He was wounded. He was exhausted, but he was still lethally dangerous. Ilara had no time to raise a shield. Boren was too far away to intercept, but I was everywhere. The entire cavern floor was my domain. I unleashed my newest skill, Shadow Grasp. From the deep shadow of the wyvern's hoard, a thick tendril of blackness shot out. It was not a spike, it was a limb. It looked like a whip made of solid night. It wrapped itself around Aurelius's ankle. He was moving at full speed. The sudden anchor was a complete shock. He fell hard, his face hitting the stone. His sword clattered across the floor. The sound echoed in the stunned silence. Everyone stared at the shadow tendril. It was still wrapped around his leg. It was undeniably real, palpable. I had just declared my existence. I had chosen my side in this conflict. I released my grasp. The tendril dissolved. It melted back into the floor's shadow. Aurelius scrambled back, crab-like. He stared at his own feet with pure terror. He had attacked his shadow, and his shadow had fought back. The game was over. He had lost control. You see, Ilara said softly to the men, the darkness is not with me. Boren and Kale drew their own weapons. They stood between Ilara and Aurelius. Their choice was finally made. Get away from her, Boren growled. His voice was low and full of menace. Aurelius got to his feet, trembling. He was outnumbered. He was outmatched. He had lost his allies and his dignity. He gave me one last look of pure hatred. You will all pay for this, he vowed. The Holy Order will burn you all as heretics. They will hunt you to the ends of the world. Then he did the last thing I expected. He ran. The golden hero turned and fled the cave. He scrambled down the mountain path alone, a coward running from his own shadow. Silence returned to the wyvern's lair. We were left with a pile of treasure and a very uncomfortable new reality. Ilara slowly walked over to where I lay. She knelt down, her face close to the ground. Boren and Kale watched, confused. I don't know what you are, she said. Her voice was a whisper meant only for me. But you saved me. You saved all of us. I had no voice to answer her with, but I could still act. I focused my will, using Shadow Grasp again. A tiny, delicate tendril of shadow formed. It rose from my surface, no bigger than a finger. It gently touched the back of her hand. It was a gesture of trust, of agreement. She did not flinch. She did not pull away. She smiled, a small, sad, beautiful smile. "Thank you," she whispered. The bond was formed. An alliance was made between a healer and a living shadow. "What do we do now?" Kale asked. He was looking at the piles of gold. "He's right," Boren said, shaking his head. "Aurelius will report us. We are fugitives. We cannot go back to any city." Ilara stood up, her mind already working. "We take what we can carry," she decided. "We need supplies, gold for passage. And we need to get off this mountain." The crisis had passed, but the threat remained. Aurelius was a powerful man with connections. His word carried weight. Ours was nothing. We were a witch and 2 traitorous guards, and whatever I was. As Kale and Boren filled bags with treasure, I felt a new hunger stirring. The wyvern's death had attracted scavengers, small winged reptiles called cave scrabblers. They were creeping in through cracks in the rock. They were drawn by the lingering scent of blood. They were no threat to the party, but to me, they were a walking buffet. I used Shadow Meld repeatedly. I darted from one dark corner to another. I devoured the scrabblers one by one. They were weak, but there were many of them. Cave Scrabbler Essence devoured times 12. Shadow Integrity increased by 2.4%. Current Integrity, 24.1%. My power was growing. I felt it. A density, a potential for more. I was becoming more than just a shadow. I was becoming a creature of darkness. My new allies supported me without question. They saw the small beasts turn to dust, and they understood it was me getting stronger. They understood that my strength was their shield. We left the cave an hour later. Our bags were heavy with gold and gems. Our hearts were heavy with uncertainty. We were no longer a hero's party. We were a band of outcasts, hunted by the very man we once served. As we descended the mountain, I looked at my new companions. Ilara, the wise and compassionate heart. Boren, the strong and loyal shield. Kyle, the quick and resourceful eyes. They were my team, my responsibility. My past life as Alex Mercer was gone. I was no longer a lonely programmer. I had found something to protect. This realization was a profound shock. I was not just motivated by revenge. I was motivated by loyalty. Aurelius had threatened my people, and that was a mistake he would not survive. I was still bound to him, a leash of magic. As long as he lived, I was his shadow. I could not stray far from him. This meant he would lead his enemies to us. The holy order he mentioned sounded serious. We could not run forever. The only way to be free was to cut the leash. The only way to be safe was to end him. The thought settled in my mind. It was cold and hard and clear as glass. He was my host, my creator in this world. But his purpose in my story was over. He was now just a liability, a threat to the people under my protection. I would hunt him down. I would face him, not as a shadow, but as the monster he had helped create. It was time to devour my master. We moved with a new and desperate purpose. The gold we carried was a means to an end. It was the fuel for our war of survival. But our true compass was the bond I shared, the magical leash that tied me to Aurelius. I could feel him, a faint, distant pull. He was a beacon of arrogance in the dark, and he was heading east towards the capital, towards the heart of the Holy Order. We could not let him reach his destination. We had to intercept him on the open road. Ilara understood my intent without words. I would form a tendril and point the way. She would nod, her face grim and determined. She translated my silent guidance to the men. "He's moving fast," she would tell them. "Our shadow friend can feel his direction." Boren and Kale accepted this new reality. They had seen too much to question it now. I was their strange and silent navigator. We traveled for 3 days without stopping. We ate on the move and slept in short shifts. The pull of the tether grew stronger. He was close. He was very, very close. Kale, our scout, went ahead of the group. He returned an hour later, his face grim. "He's not alone," the rogue reported. "He's at a crossroads a mile from here. He has 3 knights with him, silver armor. They carry the symbol of the Holy Order. Purifiers, the church's elite witch hunters. Aurelius had found his powerful friends. He was waiting for us. It was a trap. He knew we would have to follow him. He was using himself as the bait." 3 of them, Boren said, gripping his axe. "Plus Aurelius. The odds are not good." He was right. A direct fight was suicide. But I was not a creature of direct fights. I was a creature of shadows and cunning. We stopped behind a rocky outcropping. I used a tendril to draw in the dust, a crude map of the crossroads, 4 stick figures for our enemies. I drew a line from a shadow. It ended with a cross on one of the knights. I repeated this for the second knight. Then, I drew Boren's axe, hitting the third. Ilara watched my drawing intently. "He has a plan," she said to the others. "He wants to use the evening shadows. He will take out 2 of the knights. Boren, you must engage the last one. Kale, you will distract Aurelius. I will support Boren with my healing." It was a risky, desperate strategy. It relied entirely on my new abilities. It relied on our trust in each other. They all nodded. There was no other choice. We waited for the sun to begin its descent. The shadows grew long, like grasping fingers. The world became my personal playground. I could feel my power surge in the twilight. We moved into our positions silently. I saw them at the crossroads, waiting. Aurelius was pacing, his armor now dull. It was dented and scratched from the cave. The 3 purifiers stood like statues. Their silver armor seemed to glow softly. They radiated an aura of holy power. It was oppressive. It made my form tingle. I detached from the shadow of a large boulder. I flowed across the ground, unseen. The plan began. Kyle fired an arrow that clattered on a rock. It was far away from Aurelius's position. "What was that?" the hero shouted, startled. He and Kale's target knight went to look. That left 2 knights at the crossroads. Boren let out a massive, furious war cry. He charged from the rocks at one of them. The purifier was surprised but ready. He drew his blessed sword to meet the charge. That left 1 knight standing alone. He was looking back and forth, confused. His shadow was long and dark behind him. It was a perfect bridge for me to cross. I used Shadow Meld, moving with speed. I reached his shadow in less than a second. I gathered my strength for a shadow spike, a massive, brutal spear of darkness. It erupted from the ground beneath him. It pierced his silver armor from below. It went straight through his chest. He made a wet, gurgling sound. He fell without seeing his killer. 1 down. I did not waste a single moment. I devoured his essence immediately. The taste of holy power was strange. It was like drinking fire and ice at once. Purifier essence devoured successfully. Shadow integrity increased by 5.0%. Current integrity, 29.1%. Meanwhile, Boren's fight was a stalemate. The purifier was skilled and powerful. Ilara was chanting a spell of protection. A golden shield deflected a heavy blow. Aurelius and the other knight returned. They saw their fallen comrade. They saw Boren fighting the second. "Ambush!" Aurelius screamed in fury. He saw Kale firing arrows from the rocks. "Kill the rogue!" he ordered his knight. The last purifier charged towards Kale. This was his mistake. He ran right past a patch of deep shadow. My shadow. I unleashed another shadow grasp. A thick tendril wrapped around his neck. I yanked him off his feet. He choked, clawing at the shadow limb. I slammed him into the hard ground. Once, twice, a third time. The sound of cracking armor echoed. He went limp. 2 down, I devoured him as well. The surge of holy power was intense. Purifier essence devoured successfully. Shadow integrity increased by 5.0%. Integrity, threshold surpassed, 30.0%. Warning, radical metamorphosis initiated. Aurelius stared in absolute horror. He had seen me kill his last knight. Boren, with Ilara's help, finally won. He smashed the third knight's shield. His axe bit deep into the man's shoulder. The last purifier fell to his knees. Boren did not hesitate. The fight was over. I devoured the third and final knight. My integrity soared. My being screamed. Purifier essence devoured successfully. Shadow integrity increased by 5.0%. Current integrity, 39.1%. Metamorphosis cannot be stopped. Aurelius was now completely alone. He was facing Boren, Kale, and Ilara, but his eyes were locked on the ground, on the shadow that was no longer his. "What are you?" he shrieked. I did not answer with a gesture. I answered with my entire being. I felt a new sensation. Up. I was rising from the flat earth. My 2-dimensional form gained depth. It gained height. It gained mass. Darkness coalesced, solidifying. It formed into legs, a torso, arms, a body made of pure, living shadow. It was covered in smooth, black armor. My head formed, featureless and sleek, except for 2 points of burning purple light. My new eyes opened to the world. I stood up to my full height. I was a titan of silent darkness, 7 feet tall, imposing, real. The world looked different from up here. I had spent my whole existence looking up. Now, I was looking down on my former master. Aurelius trembled, his face white with fear. He did the only thing he knew how to do. He attacked. He screamed a prayer and charged at me. His golden sword blazed with holy light. He swung it at my chest with all his might. I did not move. I did not need to. I raised my left hand. I caught the holy blade with 2 fingers. The impact made no sound at all. The light of the sword sputtered and died. It was smothered by my very touch. Aurelius stared, his eyes wide with disbelief. His ultimate weapon was useless. His holy power was a joke. I tightened my grip. The legendary golden sword cracked. Then, it shattered into 100 pieces. The symbol of his false heroism was gone. He fell to his knees, utterly broken. He had no weapons, no allies, no hope. "Please," he whimpered, "don't kill me." I looked at him, this pathetic man, the source of my suffering, my prison. I felt no pity. I felt no hatred. I only felt a cold, final hunger. I reached down and placed a hand on his head. Tendrils of shadow flowed from my fingers. They enveloped him, covered him. He screamed, a thin, muffled sound. Then there was only silence. I devoured my master. Golden Hero Essence devoured. Shadow integrity increased by 20.0%. Current integrity, 59.1%. Tether to host has been severed. You are now a free shadow entity. I felt the leash snap. I was finally, truly free. My friends watched, silent and awestruck. I turned my new eyes to them, to Ilara, Boren, and Kale, my team, my people. I raised a hand, not in violence, but in a gesture of reassurance. A new path lay before us. Aurelius's memories told me of the Order. They were vast, powerful, and intolerant. They would hunt us for what we had done. But now, I was no longer a shadow. I was the darkness that hunted the light, and our story was just beginning. The broken pieces of the sword lay on the ground. My old master was nothing more than a memory now. I felt the tether that bound me to him shatter. A chain broke, freeing me from my long prison. For the first time, I was completely my own self. I looked down at my hands, weapons of solid night. I clenched them into fists, feeling actual power. This new body was a strange and potent vessel. It was weightless, yet had an undeniable presence. The cool night air brushed against my form. It was a sensation I had not felt in an eternity. My new vision was also completely different. I saw the world in shades of energy and heat. My 3 companions were warm, living flames. Ilara was a soft, gentle, and steady white light. Boren was a burning orange of loyalty and rage. Kyle was a flickering yellow of cunning and fear. They were staring at me, their weapons lowered. Their faces showed a mixture of awe and terror. I had just become the monster from their nightmares, but I was also the monster that was on their side. Ilara was the first one to take a hesitant step. She walked towards me, her eyes on my purple own. She showed no fear, only a deep curiosity. "Alex," she whispered, using my long-forgotten name. The name felt like an echo from a distant shore. Aurelius's memories had given her that knowledge. I did not know if I could even speak to her. I focused my will on the act of communication. I opened my new mouth, a simple void in my face. A sound emerged, a low hum of resonant shadow. It was like the scrape of stone in a deep cave. "I am here," the words formed slowly. My voice was a chorus of whispers and echoes. It was alien, but it was mine, my very own. Ilara smiled, a look of profound relief on her face. "It is good to have you with us," she replied. Boren and Kale finally seemed to relax a little. Their leader was not just a mindless beast, he was still the entity that had helped them. "What now, Chief?" Boren asked, his voice rough. He looked at me, awaiting my next command. I was their leader now. The thought was strange. In my old life, I never led anyone anywhere. Now, 3 lives depended on my every decision. I pointed a shadowy finger at the dead purifiers. Their silver armor gleamed in the dim twilight. "Their armor," my voice echoed. "Take it." Aurelius's memories told me of its true value. It was forged with silver and blessed with runes. It was highly resistant to holy magic. The irony was a beautiful and cruel thing. The Order's own weapon would shield us from them. Kyle's eyes widened. "That stuff is priceless. It will also mark us as killers of the Order." "They already hunt us," my voice rumbled. "We should be armed for the battles to come." They understood the cold logic in my words. They worked together to strip the bodies. It was a grim task, but a necessary one. While they worked, I focused my mind inward. The system interface was glowing brightly. Metamorphosis complete. New state achieved. Race, Umbral Titan, evolving. Title, the Host Eater, the Unchained. Shadow integrity, 59.1%. Skills, Shadow Spike. 4. Shadow Meld. 3. Skills, Shadow Grasp. 2. Form Shift. 1. A new skill, Form Shift. I tested it. I willed my body to change, to flatten. My towering form dissolved back into the ground. I was a two-dimensional shadow once again, but this time, it was by my own choice. I could feel the freedom to move as I pleased. Then, I willed myself to rise up again. The black armor reformed around my core. This was a powerful tool for stealth and surprise. I turned my attention to the final spoils, the memories I had absorbed from Aurelius. They were a chaotic storm of pride and fear, but within them was valuable intelligence. I saw maps of the kingdom. I saw hidden paths. I saw the faces of commanders in the order. I knew their protocols, their strengths, their fears. I knew exactly where they would expect us to run, and I knew a place they would never look for us. Boren was now wearing a full suit of silver plate. It fit him surprisingly well over his leather. He looked like a dark reflection of a holy knight. Kale had taken the lighter greaves and gauntlets. They would not hinder his natural agility. Ilara had claimed one of the Purifier's daggers. Its edge was sharp and gleamed with enchantments. "We are ready," she said, looking at me. I shifted back into my shadow form on the ground. It would be easier to travel this way. Less conspicuous than a 7-foot shadow titan, I formed a tendril and began to draw in the dirt. I sketched a map from my host's memories, a mountain range far to the frozen north. I drew a specific peak and a symbol on it, the symbol of a forgotten monastery. "The Grey Monastery?" Ilara said, surprised. "It was abandoned centuries ago. It's a ruin." "Exactly," my whispered voice came from the ground. "Aurelius knew of a hidden archive there. It holds records the Holy Order once buried. Secrets about their own dark origins." Boren slammed a gauntleted fist into his palm. "Leverage," he growled. "Something to fight with. Instead of just running from their assassins." Kyle nodded slowly, a grin on his face. "I like it. Hiding in the dragon's own horde." The plan was set. We had a new destination. We had a purpose beyond simple survival. We were no longer just running away from our past. We were running towards a future we could forge. We left the crossroads and the dead behind us. The night swallowed them, erasing our tracks. We moved north, a strange but united company. A fallen warrior, a clever rogue, a kind healer, and me, their shield, their weapon, their shadow. I felt my power humming with every step we took. The essence I had devoured was settling within me. It was not just raw strength, it was knowledge, the combat experience of 4 trained